Hello everybody, welcome to DIY Thursday. Today we're going to create a fringe bag. I have created a pattern. You can find it over at my Etsy shop and I will leave the link in the description box. Okay, so the measurements for this bag is you're going to cut first of all 2 pieces of front and back fabric which measures 18 by 11, but I actually have this bag on a slant. So that's why I created a pattern, but it is 18 inches by 11 inches. And also you cut 2 pieces of any type of fusible fleece, and that'll be for the front and the back of your bag. The next thing, you want to do your inside lining. I cut 2 pieces, again 18 by 11 inches. And you see that my fabric actually match each other. So I'm doing this bag for a niece of mine who loves Hello Kitty. And so I chose the inside lining to be the same. Again, 18 by 11 inches. So you cut 2 of those. Then the next thing I did, I cut a pocket. And the pocket measures 9.5 by 12. And later on in the video, you'll see we're going to fold it in half. We're going to stitch it and then add it to the back of the one of the pieces of the lining. But you can create as many pockets as you like. It's totally up to you. So now we're going to take the pocket and we're going to fold it in half as shown here. And you're going to take it to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch around the pocket on both sides, leaving an opening to turn it inside out. Okay, so now we're getting ready to just trim off any extra fabric. Make sure you do not cut your stitch line, just as shown here. This is an awesome bag and I think that you're gonna really love it. Again, I do have the pattern in my Etsy store and I will leave a link in the description box below, but I am giving you measurements, and like I said, my pattern is actually on a slant for my main bag and my inside lining, but you can create it at 18 by 11 inches, however you want. Alright, so now we're going to turn it inside out and make sure that you push out all of the corners in the pocket. And once we get finished, we're going to take it over to our iron board. I don't know, I'm having a day, right? My first video for 2018, but take it over to your ironing board and you're going to press, leaving the bottom open, but you're going to actually turn that under so it would match as shown here. And you're going to go take it to your ironing board and press, and then we're going to put it on one piece of our lining. Now, again, you can create as many pockets as you want. It's totally up to you. It's your bag and you are the designer. So now we're going to take the pocket and we're going to place it on the bag. And so what I do here, you know how I always, and we're going to place the open end at the bottom. Now, I always fold my bags in half. So you fold your pocket and your lining in half so that you can actually place the pocket in the middle as shown here. And from the top, I come down about 2.5 inches from the top to give my pocket some space. So once you actually you put the pocket on, we're going to take it to our sewing machine, pin your pocket on. I believe in pinning and pressing. And again, the open part of the pocket will be at the bottom, not the top, because we don't stitch the top part. And so you're going to pin this on and then you're going to take it to your sewing machine and you're going to sew down both sides and at the bottom. And what I did with this pocket, I end up actually sewing in the middle of the pocket as well because I wanted to create 2 individual pockets, and you'll see shortly. So right now I'm just pinning, pin and press, that's me, because it makes it look very professional. And again, you can find the pattern in my Etsy store if you like, or you can create the bag by the measurements that I've given you during this video. Alright, so now we're going to take it to our sewing machine and we're going to stitch all the way around. And again, like I said, I actually stitched the middle, down the middle of the pocket because I wanted to create as you see here, I wanted to create 2 individual pockets as shown here. Okay, so our next step is I'm preparing the fringe for the bag. The fringe are 4 inches by 19 inches, so I made the fringe a little longer than the bag. Now we're getting ready to prepare the bag to place our fringe fabric on. And you could cut as many pieces of fabric as you want to. So what we're going to do is line my ruler up as shown here. You're going to line it up at the bottom right there, and you're going to line it up 2 inches. So each one of your spaces that you are going to mark on the bag is going to be 2 inches apart from each other as shown here. And once you mark this first line, you're going to take your ruler, you're going to place it at 2 inches on that line, and you're going to continue to mark up the bag. And that will be your second line and then a third line. And you'll see as we create the bag. Again, the pattern is in my Etsy store. I'm starting to use my Etsy store because I had it for a while, but I never really used it that often. And for digital download, so you'll be able to get the pattern right away, I wanted to use my Etsy store. So please support me if you like, or again, you can create this bag at 18 by 11 inches as shown. And now we have 3 lines that we created here on the bag. And that space in between those lines are for you to add extra fabric to give it a lot. You can make the bag a lot fuller, and you'll see as we continue. Now we're going to take our first fringe, we're going to right sides together, and you notice I placed the bottom of the fringe on the line, on the first line. And what we're going to do is sew at the bottom, not the top, but we're going to stitch this particular fringe. We're going to start at the bottom and stitch all the way across with right sides together. And I also added an additional piece, and you could create it any way you want to. You can add as many different colors of fabric as you like as shown here. And now we're going to take it, and what I'm going to do here is my next piece. Well, my second piece I put on the line, but my third piece that I'm adding here is going to right sides together, but it's going to line up as you see here. It's going to not be on that line, but I'm placing it in the middle, and I'm going to stitch again with right sides together, and I'm going to stitch at that bottom line, okay, as shown here. And so again, you'll have different spaces in there, and you're able to fill it with whatever you want to, any type of different types of fabric. You can use yarn, you can do anything that you want to place on these bags to fill it, and you don't have to. You can create it just as shown here, and it comes out really well. And whatever you do to the front, you're going to also do it to the back of the bag, and so you're going to repeat that process. So see here, you can actually add more, but the next piece I'm actually going to put on that line, and I actually add another piece in the middle. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to do it to both sides to have the fringe in the front and the back of the bag. For the sake of this video, because I didn't want it to be too long, I created a pocket for my second piece of fabric for the back of my bag, and you'll see that, but you don't have to. You can do a fringe all the way around. And so now that I've done that, now I turn it over, and I just kind of trim off some of the extra fabric, but just be careful when you cutting, because you want to turn it on the back so you can follow the original pattern. And you see I didn't cut too much, but I cut a little bit off. So now what you see is all of my pieces of fabric here, and now I'm going to show you how we're going to cut it. I left a 2-inch at the top, and that's to place my straps, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm showing you how to cut your to make your fringe. Now if you wanted to, if this wasn't a custom bag like I'm doing here, you could actually purchase fringe if you like, that's already created, in the store. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to show you how, and all I'm doing is basically measuring it with my finger. You see where my thumb is, and I'm just sitting there cutting. You can cut them any size you want, and you're going to repeat this process all the way up to the top. It's a little time consuming, but you know, you'll have a cute bag, you know. So continue to do this all the way up. And it's probably about a half an inch. You know, you can do inch. You can do whatever size fringe you want. It's totally up to you. That's probably about a half an inch maybe. My thumb is not that big. So, so now repeat the process to the next piece of fabric. And also make sure that you do not, take your time and make sure you don't cut the fringe that's up under there that you just cut. You know, take your time. Now you could do this, like I said, to both sides of the bag, and you just would repeat this process to both sides of the bag. And you're going to continue to cut across. Again, you can add yarn to strings that just hang down in between the bag. You can add any type of fabrics. Again, all of the pieces of the pattern is actually in my Etsy store. Again, if you like, you can go over and purchase it. Now what I do after I cut everything, I take my hand, and this is just to get the fringe going and just, you know, fringe it out, and you know, because you want the fray and everything for the bag. And you'll do that, repeat that to the second side if you've put fringe on the second side of the bag. Now what I'm getting ready to do here is fill it, because I wanted to offset it with another color, so I'm going to put blue jean there. So I'm going to put the blue jean fabric the same way I've been doing it, and I'm just kind of showing you how it would look once I and I want to pull it down some. So I'm just seeing where I want to place it at, but I'm going to use the same technique as the rest of the fringe. I'm going to do right sides together. I'm going to stitch, and then I'm going to cut it just like I did the others. But this time what I did, I stitched it closer to that bottom fringe as shown here. And now all I'm going to do, I actually took that to my ironing board too, and I pressed it down, because blue jean is a little heavy, and you can actually add more in there if you like. You know, it's totally up to you. You can just fringe it out, okay? You can even buy store-bought fringe again and add it to even your custom bag, you know, even with your custom fringe. So it's totally up to you. So now I'm just repeating the process again. Be careful not to cut the fringe that's up under there. Okay. So now we're getting ready to do our handles. Our handles is 3.5 by 19. And I'm showing you how to actually put your handles on your bag, front and back of bag, like shown here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our handle, and what I did, I folded in on each side about 1/4 inch on both sides. I pressed it, I folded over in half, and then I top stitched that in, and I put the stitch on my longest stitch, and I just stitched just the one end, the open end. That's the end that I stitched all the way across. Now we're getting ready to place our handles on both sides of our bag. So what I did here is I actually I have a mat. You can use your ruler and I'll show you, but I went over 4 inches from the corner, and I measured on both sides 4 inches in. And I'm going to show you here, and I placed the handles on, and I pinned, and I'm going to show you here how I did it. This is the back of the bag. So at this point, you would either have your fringe already on here. You know, if you were going to fringe this bag out on both sides, you would have your fringe before you placed your handles on. Okay. So as you notice, see, I lined it up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I bring my handle over, and the part that I actually put on the line is where I stitched it at on that side. And then I'm going to repeat that process to the other side. I'm going to come in 4 inches. Again, you can use your ruler. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. And you come in measuring 4 over. And you place your handle at that line, as shown here. Like I said, this is a great bag. You can make a few of them. I actually created a binder for her too that actually matched the bag. I wanted to save some fabric, and like I said, she loved Hello Kitty. So now you're getting ready to pin this. It's for my niece. So you just pin the handles down, and what you're going to do is take these, both of them, to your sewing machine, and you're going to stitch as close to the edge as you can. It's just a stay stitch to help you when you start putting the bag together. And you're going to take both the front and the back, and you're going to just stitch across, okay, for both front and back of your bag. And again, it's a stay stitch just to help you when you start to put the bag together. See how close I got it to the edge? Want it just to make sure it's just a stay stitch, okay? Alright, as shown here. Now, this is where I added a pocket. I cut 2 pieces of fabric. I used a pattern to cut 2 pieces of fabric. I put the fabric right sides together, and I only sewed the top of the fabric. I didn't sew any of the sides, okay? Just the top. And I placed it on the back of the bag. And I actually put a stay stitch all the way down close to each side so it wouldn't move as I put the bag together, as you're getting ready to see here. So now we're getting ready to put the bag together. You want to tuck in all of your fringe. If you have fringe on both sides of your bag, you want to just make sure the handles is tucked in and all of the fringe is tucked inside of your bag. Because after we do that, and you want to line it up at the top of the bag, make sure the top of the bag is lined up. See, I cut that pocket and I brought it down and I used that pattern, so that's why you see the extra fabric, but you're going to see where I cut that off. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pin each side of the bag, including the bottom of the bag. But you want to just tuck everything in to make sure that you do not stitch your any of your fringe, and you make sure that your handles are down in there. And now I'm going to show you what I did. I cut the bottom off, but I turned it over and I followed what I had. So you're going to actually now stitch on both sides of the bag and at the bottom, okay? We're not touching those corners yet. We're going to do that next after we stitch both sides and the bottom of the bag together, okay? Make sure everything is tucked in neat if you have fringe on both sides. Okay, now see how we did that? Now we've sewn it and our bottom is open, and now we're getting ready to line up our bottom of our bag with seam to seam, and we're going to make the box of the bag. See how we did that? And we're going to stitch across. You line seam up to seam side to seam bottom. Line those up and then you stitch. Now we're going to prepare the lining piece. You're going to do it the same way, but you're going to leave an opening at the bottom of your bag. You're going to stitch both sides. You're going to stitch in and leave an opening for turning, okay? But we're not going to turn it, but we're going to leave an opening, all right? So now that we've stitched that, now we're going to take our bag, our main bag, we're putting right sides together as shown. If you have one pocket on there, you put the pocket towards the back of the bag. If you have 2 pockets, because you can put as many pockets on in your lining as you like. You can customize those pockets how you want. So now what you're going to do, you're going to stuff the bag in to the lining on the outside, right sides together, push the handles in, make sure the handles is in front of the bag, inside the lining, but in front, as shown here. See that? Okay, and you're going to line up side seams, push everything in, because we're going to top stitch around that, okay? So you're going to line up your side seams, and I did about 1/4 of an inch with everything that I did on this bag. I did 1/4 of an inch. So you're going to line up side seams as shown here. Make sure everything is pushed down, okay? Pin all the way around the bag, and what we're going to do here is once you pin all the way around the bag, we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around the bag. So make sure everything is pushed down and neat inside of the bag as shown here, okay? And remember, side seams, line those up first and then pin your bag all the way around so we can stitch the top of the bag all the way around, okay, as shown here. Make sure everything is tucked in. Those handles are right like they're supposed to be. Make sure everything is nice and neat. Again, I do have my pattern on Etsy. If you like the pattern, you can download it. We're actually having a sale today. every Thursday when I do a DIY Thursday, if I create something and I create a pattern, I usually put it on half price. Half price to sell for the DIY. Alright, so just pin all the way around. As artists, we have to do something sometimes, so, you know, to keep our business going. Alright, so now we're going to stitch all the way around the top of the bag, like I said, 1/4 of an inch. Now that we've stitched all the way around, 1/4 of an inch, now we're going to take our bag, see how we did here? I'm not going to turn it inside out, but I'm showing you that's how you're going to do it. But you're going to box off these corners just like you did the bag, lining up the bottom seam and the side seam. And you're going to pin it, and you're going to stitch across about 1/4 of an inch. And then after you do that, you're going to turn your bag inside out. So let's go ahead and pin. You're going to do both sides of that bag, of the lining. You're going to box it off, lining up seam to seam, just like we did the main part of the bag. You're going to pin, take it to your sewing machine and stitch across. And then after we do that, we're going to come back and we're going to turn it inside out. So now that we've done that, we're turning it inside out. Now, once we turn it inside out, see? Turn it inside out, and now you're going to close up your lining once you turn the bag inside out. Okay? See how we've stitched everything here? Okay? Everything is stitched. Now we're going to turn our bag inside out. Pull the bag through the lining. And once you get it out through the lining, take your time. You don't want to, you know, tear your bag. And make sure when you stitch that lining and leave that opening that you, you know, I back stitch too, so, on it. But you're going to close it up. But once you turn the bag out, inside out, as shown here, it's kind of thick, so, but it's okay. Take your time. Nobody's rushing in now. Just push everything out. And now you put your lining inside the bag, but you're going to tuck it in and you're going to stitch across. So what I did here, I'm a little bit out of front. Here we go. We're going to line it up, pin it, and we're going to stitch it across. And once we stitch it across, we're going to push it inside of our bag. Yeah, I'm just trying to get all strings off of there. But yeah, pin it, stitch across. You're going to tuck it in. You'll see, it'll give you a little tuck to tuck it in. Take it to your sewing machine, stitch across to close it up. And then you're going to, once we do that, we're going to push it inside of our bag. Now we're done. We push it inside of our bag and we're going to top stitch all the way around our bag now, making sure everything is right. So what you're going to do is push the lining inside your bag, and on the outside at the top there are seams, and you're going to top stitch. I did like a double top stitch, but you stitch close and then you can stitch a second stitch up under there. That's what I did, but it's totally up to you. But you know, I take it over to my ironing board too and I press, but we're going to top stitch, and I make sure that the it's lined up and everything is neat in the inside, and that's what I took it over to my ironing board and pressed, and then I top stitched all the way around the bag. Okay, it's a really great bag. Again, I'm going to leave a link below in the description box to the Etsy shop where you can go and get the pattern. And hey, happy crafting, and I'll see you next time. www.angiebstyle.com is my website. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.